Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Daily Manchester United as part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day. You might have been expecting a little bit of a crossover, but I still have a great team behind me to go through the Europa League and maybe what we're expecting from the game. I'm joined tonight by Cormac. Cormac, hello.
Hello, how are we doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. And I'm also joined by Tom. Tom, how are you?
Hello, Kieran. Hello to Cormac, and hello to everyone that's tuned in. And we are gearing up what could be the defining match of our season against Real Sociedad away. It is 2 legs, but we need to come away with a positive result. That's most certainly the case.
Oh, honestly, you could have told me at the start of the season that, you know, this is our best chance to win the Europa League, and I still would have bit your hand off after a 1-0 win at Fulham in the opening game of the season. Yeah, we'll win everything. It's sort of not turned out that way. I'm sort of in a dampened spirit thanks to that, knocked out on penalties against Fulham in the FA Cup. Really, this is our last possible trophy. I know you've mentioned it, Tom, previously, that we might have a chance. We can't sack off, the Europa League. It's our one chance of Europe. But I will come to you, Tom, first. This is the final trophy we could realistically win. What do you think our chances are?
Well, I don't know, because it feels like Real Sociedad are going to be one of those teams, like one of those foes that are going to get in our way. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if we look at our record against them in the Europa League previously, and perhaps maybe in the Champions League in 2013-14, because that was when we played them for the first time, our record is not actually that bad compared to some of the other Spanish sides. But I'd like to say that, we are going to be up against it when it comes to them, because there's no question they're going to have a decent squad out there, whereas us, we haven't really. When you look at our squad that's travelling, we've only got like 18 players that have travelled, so 11 starters and 7 subs, similar to what it was on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. We'll get on to those later on in the episode to confirm the list that are travelling. But Cormac, I'll sort of ask the same question of you. The final trophy we could possibly win. How do you rate our chances? Do we have a chance?
I mean, yeah, not very good, to be honest. I mean, coming into the season, I thought, United would be a shoo-in to be up there making the final, possibly winning this. I think the bookies had them up there as well. But no, yeah, I mean, as the season's gone, we've just faltered. And of course, we get a tough tie right away. Sociedad, I watched a bit of their game against Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey a few weeks ago. And even though Madrid won, Sociedad looked unbelievable. I think they hit the post or crossbar like 4 times. Not sure how they scored. But yeah, they have a lot of talent on the team, especially attacking-wise. So yeah, it's going to be a tough tie for us. Hopefully, though, last weekend's exit of the FA Cup will be a wake-up call for the boys, and hopefully they kick into that extra gear, knowing that the season really is on the line for us here.
I mean, that's a phrase that's been heard on this podcast alone in the last couple of weeks. But how many more wake-up calls does this team need, Tom, before we actually see a consistent run? We seem to see glimpses of what this team could possibly achieve under this system, but they're so few and far between.
Very few and far between, and I just don't know when they'll actually wake up and actually do it consistently. I don't know whether too many of them are afraid to move the ball when they've got the ball. There's just a lack of confidence in that team overall, and I don't know what Ruben Amorim's been saying to them on the training ground, but clearly something is not working. And I'm struggling to remember the last time we had a consistent run of performances. I mean, we've had good performances against Liverpool and Arsenal at the beginning of the year, but now it feels like every game we're just relying on moments to get us out of jail, and it's obviously not good enough for United. So I think tomorrow's game, it has got to be a solid performance. We don't need to win the match. We just need to keep Sociedad out and go into the second leg knowing that if we can get a win at Old Trafford, that'll be enough to send us through. So it doesn't matter, obviously, how many goals we win by. It's just a matter of getting through, and it's going to be a really, really scrappy tie.
A scrappy tie. You see, that's interesting. What do you reckon, Cormac?
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I'd be happy, honestly, if we came away with a draw away. I'd be very happy, going back to Old Trafford. I just don't want this tie, first leg getting away from us too much and us having a mountain to climb, because we've seen the past few weeks up front, we're kind of lacking in that area. We're not scoring too many goals at all. So for this first leg, I just like just to stay in it. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a huge task for us.
Yeah, I agree with you both. It's going to be tough to stay in this leg, which is unfathomable. It's so easy for me to say that you could possibly see United dominating this game. It's almost set like this tactic is going to be a case of trying to absorb the pressure. And just to expand on what you said, Tom, as well, that players seem a bit timid and a bit nervous to actually pass the ball forward. I think that's spot on. I've noticed, especially in recent weeks, that this defence, although they're starting to play more long balls, we saw De Ligt with that cross-field passing, which I think is going to be a very powerful tool on towards Dorgu coming up in the Europa League. But it's almost like we're scared to lose possession, because once we lose possession, teams know exactly how to hit us. And yeah, as you said, Tom, is it the fact that we're too scared to go forward to try a risky pass in the hopes that it will create a chance, that we're so scared of the turnover because of teams and how quickly they can counter?
Well, the only players that seem to be confident enough when it comes to passing the ball are De Ligt, Fernandes and Dorgu. Others are just bang average at best. So that's something that needs work on. I'm just looking at the form as well for Real Sociedad at home. It's better, obviously, at home for them compared to what is their away form. So if United can just scrape a 0-0 draw even, that will put them in good stead for the second leg at Old Trafford, because I can tell you now, Sociedad's away form has been dreadful. And that's something that United should exploit. So
no, you haven't learned your lessons, Tom. It could be dreadful for anybody, but it's a free 3 goals if anybody wants it, eh, Cormac?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've often given predictions, going into match weeks, and yeah, they completely go the other way. I mean, yeah, United at times can be shaky, although I feel like their backline has shored things up a little bit. I mean, I didn't think Fulham created, as many chances as I thought they would. Be it they had some, obviously. But yeah, I think the problem with this game is really just going to lie up top, and maybe we'll see finally a Hoyland goal. I think it's been near 19 games or something now without one. Because I'd imagine he'd be up front, but yeah, you just never know. Honestly, it's becoming hard to predict. Yeah, the heart says we go on to win it, but the head says it's probably going to be a low scoring one.
Yeah, normally the header's won out this season, hasn't it? But there we go. We'll take a little bit of a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have our reaction to, as Tom said, that 18-player squad that's heading to Spain, and those players that have missed out through to injury. We'll be back after this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
So to take you through our 18-strong squad heading to Spain on match day, we have 3 goalkeepers. Onana, obviously, will probably be starting, but we'll get onto that later. With 2 more youth keepers in Harrison and me. They're our goalkeeping department. Defenders-wise, Nyla's going to be delighted. Harry Amas is there alongside Diogo Dalot, Dorgu. We've got Heaven, Lindelof, Mazraoui, Yoro and De Ligt. In terms of midfielders, we've got Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Toby Collier, Christian Eriksen. And in terms of forwards, or you could call him a midfielder forward, Garnacho with our 2 strikers, Hoyland and Xerxes. And that's it. That's it in terms of who we are bringing to Spain. As we've already mentioned, it's quite a depleted squad, Cormac, but it's no surprise because we've got quite a few injuries to contend with.
Yeah, I mean, injuries often the story of United recently. Just a squad not quite down to bare bones, but nearly down to there. It's going to be a lot of minutes on players' legs who have been getting overworked really the last few games. Haven't been much time for rotation or rest for them. It's hopefully, please God, touch wood, no more injuries, and the lads can get through it. But yeah, no, it's not ideal at all going away to Sociedad with a squad that's completely depleted right now with injuries.
I mean, you're right. It's not quite bare bones, not quite against Tottenham with only 12 senior players that are fit. But we're talking about Maguire, who's possibly out with a hamstring injury. We've got Luke Shaw, who obviously we know is out for quite some time. Bioniq out. Kobe Mainoo out with that muscle injury. We know Ahmad's out for the rest of the season. So too is Martinez. And obviously we've got the long-term injuries of Johnny Evans and Mason Mount. And I do forget sometimes that Mason Mount is a United player sometimes. He's been so unlucky with injuries. But Tom, how much talent are we missing out on in terms of the names that are unavailable?
A significant amount. I mean, it may feel bad enough having them in the team and watching United perform in the way they had been, even when they're around. But when you are missing that many players, even with the level of quality they bring in, it really does hamper them. When it hampers them like an absolute rock that's just hit you in the face, basically. So United really could do with all of them back, ideally, especially Ahmad. I mean, Ahmad's the big one for me that United really could do with being in there. But now they've just had to make do with what they've got. But I suppose the blessing in disguise, even if United were to go out to Real Sociedad in the Europa League, obviously their season is over. But it gives Amorim an idea as to how he could select his squad for the remaining games in the season. We mentioned about Obi. We've mentioned about Collier potentially getting some more game time. What about Harry Amas? Could he maybe get a game or two or some minutes at least? It gives the manager, or the head coach as he is officially, a chance to really give those more and more minutes between now and the end of the season. And that way, heading into the summer, if some of these are good enough to be in the team, then I can't think why he needs to go out and spend 250 odd million pounds on players of which he doesn't even know for a fact that may or may not have played for him are good enough to be playing in the Premier League, let alone at Manchester United.
Yeah, for a club that's so, touted for its academy, class of 92 coming through, Cormac, we seem a little bit hesitant to start giving youth a chance in these scenarios, especially in that game against Tottenham, where we only made the one sub in injury time at the end of the second half. Why is it that you think that Amorim is almost a little reluctant to sort of rely on the youth, even if the squad's a little bit depleted?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, that Spurs game, as you said, that was a complete shock. We only had Lindelof on the bench. The rest of them hadn't played a game for us. And you only brought on Cheeto for a few minutes. You would think it would be good opportunities for the youngsters to get even more minutes with all the injuries we have. I think in past seasons, even like young players have been getting a lot more minutes even when there hasn't been injuries. And I don't know, Amorim, don't know if he's just new to the club, not really that familiar with them, or that's the issue. But it's hard to tell. You'd think they'd be getting minutes. Obviously, if Tom said we do go to the Europa League, season's kind of over, so you'd think in the league at least he would start to play them a lot more, give them game times and develop them a lot, and give them more options going into next season, who we can trust and maybe who we can loan out.
Yeah, it's sort of like this bit of limbo, but I'll give Tom a chance to answer that question. And two, I mean, why do you think that Amorim is not relying on the youth, even when there's the golden ticket to do so with a bit of an injury crisis we have?
It feels to me like he's trying to force the players to just completely be gelled into this system that he's trying to put together and trying to get them to adapt to it, because if they're not being given enough minutes, they're not going to be able to adapt to the system. And given they've played so many minutes, he's kind of committed to having them try and fit into the system. I know we keep saying system so much, and it sounds like a very generic term, but if we're going to say formation and all the tactics, the link-up play and everything like that in how he wants them to play, then that's when the likes of Dorgu and all that, who've just been signed by him, are the players to do it. But these are basically the tools that Amorim's got right now. And in the summer, he's probably going to need at least 5 or 6 players in designated positions, most particularly the striking role, because we know that Højlund right now is clearly not fit for purpose in what Amorim's trying to put together. So how do you go about resolving it? Well, Obi, I think we have to say right now, he is a squad player at best. So you have to bring in someone who you know is going to get you that 20 goals across the whole season, because clearly Højlund's not that player. And if you look at the midfield role, central part of midfield, Casemiro, is he going to be around next season? If not, then you need to bring in someone who can replace him.
Yeah, and it's a difficult time. It is this sense of limbo, but I suppose the free golden ticket of using the youth academy and using those youth prospects. I mean, looking through, Harry Amas and Toby Collier, the notable ones I can see from the United Academy. You could add Aidan Heaven. He's not strictly from United Academy, but he is a young player that clearly has had a few minutes on the pitch in the FA Cup knockout against Fulham. But it seems weird that, Alan Hansen once says you can't with anything with kids, but I don't think there's anything to lose by playing some of our youth prospects. So, yeah, maybe it's a bit of column A and column B, trying to get the senior players used to this system and use this bit of limbo to get them used to that system, and then try and bring through the youth that way. I guess we'll see when we head to Spain, when we kick off against them. But we'll come back and we'll try and put together a predicted 11 out of the 18 players we have to choose from. You won't want to miss this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the show link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
I don't think anybody's going to lambast me for suggesting in the first of the predicted 11 in goalkeeper, Andre Onana. I'm not hearing any kerfuffle, am I, from you both? Shaking the heads all around. Spot on. All right, then let's move on to something a little bit more complicated. Then let's have a look at the back three, the centre-backs. I'll start with you, Cormac. What are you expecting and who are you expecting in that centre-back lineup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think De Ligt and Euro will be there. The question then is, do you go Aidan Heaven or Victor Lindelof? I would like to see Heaven. I thought he was very good when he came on, to be honest. And, Kubo, I imagine for Sociedad would be on the right-hand side. He has a lot of pace. So I think we could benefit from having an athletic left-sided centre-back over there. And Heaven obviously being left-footed, it suits him a lot over there. So I would like to see him over Lindelof. I think just Lindelof, he done all right the other day, but I think that pen miss might maybe be lingering on him a bit and going into such a big game. Although it would be a bit of a risk to play Heaven, I think he'd be the right choice given the opposition.
And Tom, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think with Aidan Heaven, as far as I know, he's quite a tall player. So, but do correct me if I'm wrong with that. But I would probably say it's better to just go with the back three of Mazraoui, De Ligt and Euro, because like Heaven, Euro is a left footer. So Euro would benefit from being in that position with De Ligt in the middle. He's also a left footer, and Mazraoui, as we know, is a right footer. So that would be my back three. Right wing back. I suppose I'd let you ask us that question, Kieran, since that you're in charge of the show itself. So,
well, I was going to say, because I was going to pick your brains there, because obviously there's that split decision whether we play Mazraoui as the right-sided centre-back or we play him as a right wing-back. And I've always been of the volition that he's a great defender, is Mazraoui. He can read the game defensively very well, but he is limited in going forward. And I don't know if playing him at right wing-back is the best way forward. And I feel like you're going to come on to putting Diogo Dalot at right wing back there, Tom. That's where I felt the conversation was going. And so far, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, well, reluctantly, yes. I would be happy for Mazraoui to be at right wing back, but I think Dalot's going to be the chosen one to be in that role because although he hasn't been great, I can't really think of any other reason apart from the fact that you could maybe put Heaven in centre half alongside De Ligt and Euro and push Mazraoui into that right wing back, but I think Dalot is going to be the chosen right wing back.
Yeah, I sort of see that one. I see your point as well, Cormac. You want to start Aidan Heaven. I can't see that happening. I think Lindelof is going to start alongside De Ligt as well. So that's where my head is at, with Dorgu on the right wing back. And then, Dalot on the right wing back. I'm putting Dorgu on the left. I'm not doing an Amorim just yet and swapping them both. Dorgu on the left, because I can really see that link-up play between De Ligt and Dorgu. It had massive potential when Dalot was down that left-hand side, especially in the first 20-25 minutes. And whilst Dalot didn't do a bad job, I feel like if we've got Dorgu on that left-hand side, on the receiving end of those cross-field passes, I'm sure Cormac can do a lot more with it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Dorgu has been a complete breath of fresh air. The positivity he has, on the ball, looking for passes going forward, as I said earlier, and even making runs in behind, Garnacho or whoever's out in that left wing spot. I think he'll be a left wing back, no doubt. And then, to be honest, Mazraoui kind of slipped my mind as centre back. I was thinking purely just what centre backs we have, but I think Dalot will probably be the right wing back. Although, he hasn't been great. But if Mazraoui played there, although he's a bit more defensive, I wouldn't mind that at all. Given I'd like us to get back to Old Trafford still in the tie.
Yeah, that would be my preference as well. Fingers crossed. Let's have a look at holding midfield, because there's a couple of ways we can approach this. I'll start with your Cormac. How is your holding midfield prediction looking?
Yeah, I'm looking definitely. I think Bruno will be there. I don't think he'll play higher forward like we kind of seen the other day. And then I know he's just coming back, but I would love to see Toby Collier in there as well. I thought he's been doing good. He's kind of the one Amorim's given faith out of the youngsters. And against Rangers, I thought he had a phenomenal game in one of our last Europa League games. It's just a question. He's just coming back from injury. Will he be that match fit? But he'd be the one I'd like to see there alongside him, some youthful legs in there.
And Tom, how is your holding midfield looking?
I do like the idea of having Fernandes and Collier there. I think Collier, when he played against, I can't remember which team it was against. Was it Rangers he played against, or was it Bodeglimt at Old Trafford in the Europa League? It was one of the two. But I think he'll get some minutes in a game like this one alongside Bruno Fernandes. So I think excels in that defensive midfield role at times, especially when he plays those long balls in. So Collier and Fernandes would be the two that I'd go for.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm also thinking Fernandes, because I thought one of you was going to put Fernandes in the more attacking role, but you didn't. And it's caught me off guard. But anyway, Fernandes is a deep line playmaker I like to look of. He's able to actually drive through the middle of the park as well, which I think is something that's been missing from this system. Someone who's able to control the midfield. But I'm going to go against you both. I'm going to use my head here because I think it's going to be Casemiro that will probably start. I don't think he's been too bad recently, but he can't run out a full game. I'm not ruling out Toby Collier coming on for him in the second half, but I do think Casemiro is going to start the game. So let's have a look at attacking midfielders then. I'll come to you, Tom. How's it looking?
This may interest you, and others as well.
Go on.
Casemiro and Eriksen. I've decided to go for those. Yeah, honestly.
Right, expand.
Well, I saw someone put together this, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, do you know what? This could actually work. And I thought, when you put Casemiro in that attacking midfield role, because I know he's kind of like a box-to-box midfielder, maybe was at times when he was at Real Madrid. And I think in a game of its magnitude against Real Sociedad, I think he's the kind of man that knows how to play in that particular part of midfield in a game like this one in the Europa League. So I'm going to put Casemiro alongside Eriksen, because I think Eriksen at times in the Europa League has been okay in that position in the attacking midfield role, because I think he's more of an attacking midfielder than he is a defensive midfielder anyway, is Eriksen. So I'll leave my number 9 until you two give your attacking midfielders.
Yeah, you got to let us sue that one. Casemiro is an attacking midfielder, Cormac. What do you make of that?
It's definitely one of the crazier positions I've heard him being in. I mean, for me, I'll probably just go with the obvious, Garnacho and Xerxes. I think, Eriksen, to be fair, I wouldn't mind that much. I thought he, obviously on the ball, he has quality. Just the question is with his legs, they're kind of going at this stage of his career. I think it will be predictable enough. I think it will be Garnacho and Xerxes in the two behind the 9.
See, I'm thinking, Tom's psyched me out here. He's cooking something over there. He is cooking something, starting Casemiro as an attacking midfielder.
It's been crazy enough of a season anyway, Kieran, so it's worth giving it a go.
Valid point. Very valid point. I think I'm going to go the more boring route. I think a route that was sort of proved in the Fulham tie. I think Xerxes is going to start deeper alongside Eriksen. I don't think Amorim's been too concerned about playing his both strikers in the same match. I think that's going to repeat here again. So I don't think it's going to be too bad. But now that the more I think about Tom's Casemiro attacking midfield, the more I want it to happen. Will it happen though? That's the other question. But I'm going to go with Xerxes and Eriksen in the middle of the park. And then Tom, No prize for guessing who's number 9?
I think because of his goal scoring record in Europe, I'm going to go Højlund, actually. Because if you look at his goal scoring record in Europe, he's got 10 for Manchester United already, has Højlund, including 5 this season in the Europa League. And I think in a game like this, away from home especially, that's where Højlund, I think, thrives more in. So I think in a game like this one, especially when you look at the defenders, I mean, we've not spoken enough about the Real Sociedad players yet, have we, unfortunately? But I think Højlund will be able, maybe on a set piece, to get his head on it. But if not, maybe like a good Dorgu cross to Højlund could be what separates the two sides.
Yeah, I'm thinking a low cross from Dorgu for Højlund to get onto the end of. That is if Cormac has also picked Højlund up top. Drum roll, please.
Yeah, no surprise. He'd be there for me as well. Let's just hope Kieran he doesn't do any more of those dummies we've seen, and he actually strikes the ball. But no, yeah, Højlund will be there. I really do hope he gets a goal. As Tom said, Europe's kind of favour him a lot more in the league, and yeah, I think it would do huge leaps and bounds for his confidence if he could get one, and then hopefully start kicking on, get that one out of the way after this terrible streak he's been on. And yeah, just really start going forward. I hope as well he gets a lot more than 10 touches in the first half. That would be a huge plus as well for him.
That would be progress, it would seem, that would be happening. Yeah, I'm putting Højlund up top as well. It seems the only option to put up top, especially if Obi Martin isn't travelling with the squad. I mean, Højlund's the only option for me up top. But Alan Shearer, when he was on the commentary, the co-coms in the FA Cup against Fulham, he was talking about how tough it is for a striker who's going through a bit of a barren run, hasn't scored in a while. But he was spotting that Højlund was getting into the right spaces for a good portion of the match. But it's clear that he's drifting wide, which Amrin may have told him to do. But as a lone striker, to start drifting wide when you're hoping for some sort of, I guess, overlap here from your wing-backs, because that's really where the width is coming from in this system. To be as the lone striker, but on the left-hand side, trying to put the ball in, who's in the box? Who aerially will get there? Xerxes missed a couple of headers. It sort of went over him for a couple of them in the FA Cup game. But yeah, it just seems it's a bit of a muddled system up top. Defensively, we seem okay. I'm not going to say great because that's not the case, but we've really struggled going forward. And hopefully, as you said, Cormac, a goal could give Højlund the boost of confidence that he needs to press on and hopefully get us through this Spanish affair. We head to Real Sociedad this evening when you're listening to it. It's 5:45 on TNT Sports 1 HD. Aren't we lucky? TNT Sports 1. We were TNT Sports 4 the last time we were on there. So we're making progress. We are back. We're so back. Niall will be so proud of me. Thank you all for listening along. And thank you to my wonderful hosts in Tom and Cormac for joining me. Thank you both. And thank you for joining me on today's podcast. Hopefully keep your fingers crossed for tonight. Let's see if it a good result. Well, I said that against Fulham and look how that turned out. If you like the sound of this and want to follow us on all the socials, you can do indeed. We're on Twitter and X, GSP and Man United. We're also under the same tag on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. You can also watch all of our episodes if you're listening to them on Apple or Spotify by going to our YouTube channel, the Global Sports Podcast Network LTD. Find the Manchester United playlist and watch to your heart's content to see our reactions and our lovely faces. Well, let's hope we get the result we need against Sociedad. Come on, Højlund. Let's get you on the score sheet. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We'll speak to you soon.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.